release slide. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Niels Bantilan. Working on UnionML right now, mostly, and a little bit of Pandera. But I wanted to show off a little bit of the upcoming release, the 0.1.4 release, and I wanted to demo two new features in UnionML. So yeah, the demo gods aren't smiling on me today, but let's see if I can do some kind of demo today here. So the first feature, which should be familiar to all Flyte users, is we basically added a way to do what we're calling patch deployments. So I don't know if this is the right move or not, but we kind of like veered away from Flyte specific terminology. So this is basically just fast registration, right? So you built your Docker image, you have all your dependencies in there, your code's baked in there. But then if you iterate on that code, you want to be able to just push those changes and without bypassing the whole Docker build process all over again. So you can do this with UnionML deploy, and then the reference to the app module and the UnionML model. So that's the app : model. And if you supply the patch flag, it'll basically do fast registration for you. So this hasn't been available so far in UnionML. It's going to come out in 0.1.4, so that's exciting. That'll really help with the iteration process, same as Flyte's fast registration. The second feature I wanted to show off, hopefully it'll work, is UnionML ships with these app templates. So when you say UnionML init my app, which is the name of your app, it'll create a project directory for you that is basically has all the artifacts and source code and configuration you need for your UnionML app. There is a template flag where you can pass in certain pre-configured templates. So in this case, if you say basic AWS Lambda S3, it'll create a project for you that is not only just all the training and prediction code, but it also ships with the ability to deploy a trained model to an AWS Lambda serverless function, which also reacts to S3 events. So if you say dump an S3 file, a file into S3, and assuming that it is some kind of compatible file format that UnionML is able to load up into memory and pass into your prediction function, you'll be able to basically react to, uploading files from, just say, a different application. So if you have a different application that uploads these files, UnionML will handle generating predictions from them, assuming that they are features. So with no further ado, let me see if I can share my screen and get something to work. So here, just a thumbs up to just make sure that you can see my terminal and my editor. Okay, I'm assuming yes. So I'm going to start off with just showing you this init command. So I'm creating a project called my S3 event app. And if I look into this app, you can see a couple of artifacts in here, like a Docker file, the Docker file for the AWS Lambda function, some sample features, the requirements, and then the app. This app.py file contains the UnionML app. So actually, I already have a project here that I'm going to work off of, this test S3 event project. It's the same exact template. So the first thing I'll show you is the patch registration. So I have a FlyteCTL sandbox here, and I've already registered the app, basically the training workflows and prediction workflows, and I've already run one of the training workflows here. But say I want to iterate on this code. So the update I'll make to the code base is just a pretty arbitrary one. So I'm just going to print fitting estimator now. So now I've made a change to my code base. I don't want to rebuild my Docker image. So I'm just going to say union deploy app. And just as a reminder, model here refers to the model variable that contains all of our app logic. And then I'm going to pass in this hash flag. And this should go fairly quickly. Great. So now I've deployed app version. And just to be clear, in UnionML land, an app version is basically just the set of workflows that are logically associated with your machine learning application. So now if we go back to the console, refresh the page, we see now there's a version of Flyte workflows and tasks, et cetera, and that has this kind of like patch and a random string here to indicate the patch. So now I can just run the command line UnionML train with passing in a few of the hyperparameters here. And this will automatically just use the latest app version that I've registered. So if I go to the console, you can see that we're running the patch version here. I'm not going to go dig into the logs to show you that it's actually printing out the change, but you can see that everything here is working as expected. So the impact of this will be to increase the iteration speed. So once you've got your Docker image pushed out to some remote location, you can just use that same one, and Flyte's fast registration protocol will work here just happily. The last thing I'll show you, actually, it takes some time to build these images, so I'm not going to run through the entire process, but you can see here what I did was, just to give you some background, actually, the way you as a user, once you've set up your template app and everything, the thing that you need to be cognizant of is this Lambda Handler. So this is a very lightweight integration. We didn't do too much by way of like syntax sugar to make the actual Lambda Handler implementation easier, but it's fairly straightforward, right? So this is just whatever AWS's Lambda's conventions are. So the handler gets an event and a context object. Here I'm just loading the trained model object from my environment variable here, and I'm iterating through the records, and these records contain metadata about where the S3 file was dumped, what the key was, what the bucket was, etc. So all I'm doing here is I'm fetching the data from S3, passing the resulting features into my model.predict function. So it generates predictions, and then I upload those predictions to S3. And how this all connects to AWS Lambda is I have this template.yaml file. I'm not going to go through all of this, but basically it's a configuration file that specifies some configuration for your AWS serverless function. I wanted to react to file upload events. So I basically have this app bucket where I'm expected to dump my features. And I wanted to react to any file that's dumped into the features prefix with a .json file extension. So that's basically how UnionML connects with S3 and AWS Lambda. And so once I say SAM build, it'll build my Docker image. I'll blow this up a little bigger. And then I say SAM deploy. It takes me through this guided experience of passing in values to a bunch of configurations. The one to pay attention to here is the bucket name parameter. So I can say what bucket I want to react to. And it's pretty magical. The SAM CLI will spin up a bunch of all the services you need. So all this output is spinning up the function, the bucket, et cetera, et cetera. And this is kind of the moment of truth. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the sample features that I have locally up onto this bucket. I actually need to change it because I use a different bucket name. So okay, there it is. Okay, so I successfully uploaded that. I'm gonna just double check to see that the features file is actually in there. Oh no, this is the wrong bucket name. Okay, so I just uploaded these features. I'm gonna invoke this SAM logs command, and it's supposed to print out the logs of my my application here. I forgot the name of my application already, so just gonna see here. Stack name test S3 demo. Awesome. Okay, so my request was started and ended here, so it's working. And the last thing I'm going to do is check that the predictions were okay. So the predictions aren't there yet. I think it's still running, but you get the idea that basically I can upload files into some predefined prefix and pattern. And if you've set everything up correctly, your UnionML app prediction function is actually running on this AWS Lambda server. That will kick off as a result of dumping these files and then produce predictions for you. So I'll just end the demo right there, and I'm curious if there are any questions or reactions. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I love the convenience that you have there for, I mean, with all the CloudFormation actions going on in the background there, that should make it super easy. Is there any specific feedback that you want to get from people watching this? I mean, what kind of feedback are you interested in getting?
Yeah, so for this specific feature, we are curious to learn about all the different prediction modalities that people are interested in. UnionML obviously supports batch prediction with Flyte. We do have fast API integrations and using AWS serverless functions as functions or as web APIs, so that's supported. But this kind of this isn't exactly streaming, but we're eventually going to go into the streaming land. But reacting to events, things like that, I personally don't have experience, in production using those kinds of workflows or using that kind of prediction modality. So we would be curious to learn about, how people are doing inference serving outside of the batch or like online, like API-based interactions.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. So let's see if we can get some feedback there also, how that could work in a function in a combination with, model ops and observational stuff, see how your model performs, that you update with more data and so on. That could be a very cool, use case with Y-logs potentially, and see how that works all together. So I think it's fantastic. Thanks a lot for sharing this, Niels. If we have more feedback, I would say engage through the usual channels. And we had the Twitter.
I had one question actually. My name's Ketan. Yeah. So Niels, basically, this is I think one thing that the demo probably did, but did not talk about, was that you were actually automatically using the model that you trained offline independently. You didn't really have to create your model deployment, specifically like taking the model, staging it to the right place, right? So I think maybe you want to highlight that a little bit.
Yeah. So the step I didn't show is you can it's a single extra command, but currently with SAM and AWS Lambda stuff, you have to kind of download the model artifact in the runtime where you're deploying it. So in this case, it was local. So sorry, I got distracted by that for a second. Yeah. So it's a UnionML like fetch model, and it'll grab the model from the remote Flyte cluster, and then it'll be in your local environment. And from there, you basically build the SAM Docker image. Yeah.
And so if you update the model, would it keep on updating the model as well? Like if you rebuild a new model, new version?
No, that's a type of user journey we haven't. I mean, it would be awesome or would be interesting, but we don't support that right now. So you kind of need to redeploy the entire stack, or you need to update the stack, the CloudFormation stack, with the new image.
Yeah, and this is something where we would love to get inputs, right? Because I think within Flyte, we do support building these newer versions, and UnionML does support fetching them. It is that we were not sure, should we automatically fetch, should we not automatically fetch? And this is somewhere where the community can chip in, have ideas, try this out. It's really simple, and the best part is this is AWS. There are free and AWS Lambda invocations that people can use. This can run on the free invocations, and it scales beautifully with Lambda. There's no external server services, nothing to be run. Just use AWS Lambda. So fantastic.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is there's a lot of optimizations from here, right? Like we're just using, whatever. If you're using PyTorch, it's just doing the prediction in PyTorch. But with the Onyx plugin, and I think there's a new thing, AI template that Meta put out recently. So there's a lot of optimizations to make the predictions even faster.
Very cool. So last question, Niels, where can people learn more about UnionML?
Yeah, so on the union.ai/UnionML URL, you can get a high-level sense of what's going on. And you can go to unionml.readdocs.io if you want to dive deeper. But those are the best places.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Niels.